Am I an idiot and just now noticed 3 minutes and 27 seconds into this music video that they have two vocalists? What's up, everybody? Mark with Carterbox Academy here, and today we're doing another Patreon pick for our reaction and vocal analysis. Every month, our patrons get to nominate and vote on a song for me to react to, and I do it basically no matter what it is. And today, they have given me quite a mouthful. So the band, as I understand it, has members of vulvodynia, and I believe Duncan Bentley is doing the vocals as well. And I have been told that the band name is shortened to Xavleg, right? But I think that if I was to pronounce it, I would say Xavleg Mauf Citi Miwoab Nutroab Quapwe Pofks. But I like it because the last three letters are the same an acronym, or the same acronym as Final Fantasy X, and that's a great game. But anyway, we're going to be listening to monkey noises, and I have to tell you, I don't really know what's going to go on. I don't know. I just don't know. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I am a vocalist. I'm a metal vocalist in a band called Kardashev. I have been doing that for a while. We released an album called Liminal Right on Metal Blade this year. You should check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's probably not going to sound like this. Maybe, though. I don't know. And I'm also a vocal coach. Specifically, I teach people how to make a lot of metal vocal noises, you know, a lot of the types of noises, and I help them make them safely and efficiently for years to come. I do also have some clean singing students, but probably like 90% clean singing. 90% of the people who come to me are coming to me for metal vocal lessons. It's what I do full time. So we're going to be breaking down the vocals of Xavleg band here, and it's gonna be fun, and I don't know what to expect. I'm a little, not like nervous, but I'm a little like, you know, how crazy nutso is this gonna be? If you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot. Tell me anything in the comments below. I don't know, like, give me some details on this band. Give me the background. I'm not so sure. If you really like the content, you can check us out on Patreon. That's how you access our Discord server, which has tons of people from all around the globe. There are listening parties every Friday night. I'm usually at every other one because I've got band responsibilities, of course. And we have karaoke events. I think we're having one this Sunday. It's a lot of fun. Come check it out. And if I seem a little spacey in this video, that's just how it's going to be for a little while, because as many of you know, we have a little newborn child. He is a month and 4 days as of today. So he's wonderful and I love him, but he makes me very, very sleepy and very scatterbrained. So let's just push through it. Let's do monkey noises. Here we go.
We are acidic vaginal liquid explosion generated by massive amounts of filthy fecal fisting and sadistic septic syphilic sodomy inside the infected, maggot-infested womb of a molested nun dying under the roof of a burning church while the priest watches and ejaculates in immense perverse pleasure over his close fresh penis.
I think that they were saying their band name. We are, yeah, I think, oh, it's right here in the description. I'm an idiot. The band, okay, so this band name is Acidic Vag. I'm not going to read that on this video because I don't want to get demonetized. But if you want to know what it stands for, go check out the description. Whoa. All right. Okay. Freedom of expression. Am I right? Okay, here we go. Let's go back a little bit. Oh, God. This is going to be good. Okay, so we've actually got something to talk about here already, which is really cool. So what we're hearing here is not like, you know, a lot of times when we talk about metal vocals, we say, oh, that's a fry vocal, or oh, that's a false chord vocal. And that is a very useful way to look at it because it kind of is how it works. But I always like to say that this is it's the starting point, it's the baseline, and much of the metal vocals that we hear, especially in deathcore, Well, and okay, like maybe this is brutal technical deathcore, metal, this, that, or the other. I don't care. Whatever genre this is, it's got some core influences for sure. What we hear in this genre is usually a little bit more advanced than just our false chord and just our fry bass line, right? The reason I'm pointing that out is because one thing that a lot of metal vocalists, whether self-taught or taking vocal lessons, like from me or somebody who does the same job I do, is that, do we want to scream with constriction? No. Are there points of strategic constriction that we can add to our vocal tract to create new tones? Yes. Right? Now that may seem kind of contradictory, right? But I can take a sort of higher false chord sound, right? Like a higher mid. Yeah, way, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's very loose. It's very open. It's kind of old school, right? What I can do is I can add a little bit of to it. Now, this is not happening on the vocal folds, right? My vocal folds are not involved, right? And I'm also leaving that space, the glottis, open. Right? This is mostly happening in the back of my mouth. You can hear a little bit of movement inside of the larynx, but I don't feel any tension on the vocal folds themselves. So I'm here. If I take it changes the sound of the scream. It's not super easy to do, but anybody can learn how to do it. It starts with utilizing that sound on chords. That's one of my favorite ways to teach people how to do this sound and remove tension in the actual throat, is to do like simple scales. Right? You can think of it as being like kind of twangy singing as well, but this would be an over. A lot of what we do for metal vocals, if translated directly into clean singing, would be way too much. We'd want to dial it back. So yeah, you can think of having strategic points of constriction of airflow to change the sound. And you know, one way to think about that is we do that with gutturals, right? Okay, this is more occlusion than constriction, right? A blockage of the airway. But when I am doing a guttural, there are many ways to do gutturals. And when I do a guttural, I'm here, right? I'm curling the tongue, partially semi-occluding the vocal tract, and I'm tightening up my lips. So there's a little bit of constriction of the vocal tract there. That gives us our guttural sound. I liked how I heard him dipping into some pig squeals here. I'm going to wait to talk about pig squeals, though, because knowing vulvodynia, there's probably going to be more prominent ones that we can talk about. But let's go ahead. Let's keep going. Pretty cool so far. Pretty cool. I actually want to pause it again. I'm sorry. So he's actually doing something here that's really, really valuable for any metal vocalist to be able to do, regardless of what style, and it's to do your vocals sort of at a speaking level. Now, that's not me saying that your vocals should always be no louder than your speaking voice, right? They don't always have to be sort of reserved like that. But if we can do our vocals at a speaking level, right? If we can do our vocals at the same amount of effort as our speaking voice, give or take, then we can use that as a really good platform to project healthfully, right? So what he's got here is he's got his vocals, right? And instead of like big and projected open mouth, he's kind of talking into the front of the mouth right here.
And when I'm doing this, it's really not any harder than like talking.
Right? Sort of tight-lipped, speaking into the front of the face. Very low effort. My neck doesn't feel much more effort than if I was to say like, hey, what's up, dude? Good to see you, right?
Hey, what's up, dude? Good to see you.
My abdominal muscles, those are working a little bit harder than my speaking voice, but everything here to here, relaxed. And that's really a big thing. If you wanted to get into metal vocals or like any sort of like more athletic, like projected singing, like you want to get really belty, you want to have a lot of weight in your voice, kind of understanding the separation of tension from your throat and the tension in your abdominal muscles, which you do want when you activate. That's a really important skill. Let's keep going though. let's talk about timbre. Let's listen to that one more time before we talk about timbre. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about timbre, right? So timbre is a very big subject, and I feel like the best way to describe it is actually a way that I came across watching a very interesting video deep dive on the subject of timbre on a channel called Sounds Good, which I don't think she's making content anymore. The last video I saw, the woman who runs the channel, she said that she was moving on to just writing music, and I was like bummed because her channel's awesome. But at the same time, I was like, okay, that's fair. You got to do what's right for you. But at the end of the video, I think it's like a 30 to 45 minute video just talking about the science of timbre. She was like, that's really complicated and hard to follow. And I was like, that's true. I agree with you. And she said, so I think one of the best ways we can think about timbre is the way to make a pitch sound different without changing that pitch, right? She probably said it much more eloquently than I am right now. It's a great video. You should go watch it. But my point with this is that this can apply to things other than pitch too, right? So if I have a note, right? If I have a pitch, hey, right there, hey, I can obviously make it brighter. Hey, right there, hey. I can make it warmer, darker. Hey, right there, hey. It's the same note. It's the same note, but I'm changing the way it's perceived by making different shapes and movements with my vocal tract. This is one of the most important things, I think, for people to find their way through with metal vocals, especially in these more acrobatic metal vocal styles, right? I think sometimes people will hear a metal vocal, or they'll hear a section of metal vocals, maybe something like this, and they might think, you know, oh, that sounds different, therefore it must be a brand new style or a brand new technique. When in actuality, you can do a lot of this stuff. Now, I'm not there. I'm not in the crowd. I haven't talked to this guy, so he may be like doing a pretty hard technique shift. It doesn't really sound like it. But we can make these changes of timbre with our vocal tract. So a good example is he's starting in this really wide, really open, slight tongue curl position, right? Like that's roughly where he's at, right? Take a look at my mouth here. That's not a weird thing to say. Not when you're a vocal coach, anyway. Take a look at my mouth here, and notice how I've got my jaw dropped. You can't really see, my tongue is curled, so you can't see the back of my mouth, but I've got my soft palate lifted up. Right? I can go from showing my teeth to sort of curling my teeth. Let me get this a little bit out of my face here. Sorry about that. So, right? And that creates like a really good, like nice roaring mid-tone. Now I'm going to take that, and instead of like I'm going to roar. Do you hear how under that it's the same note, right? Now, when we do a lot of our metal vocals, we don't necessarily have an audible pitch, but every sound has pitch. Like this, like you could isolate like pitch from that if you like looked at the frequencies, right? But if I take that, let me catch my breath here. One thing that's fun about having a newborn is that you don't sleep much. And one thing that's fun about having heart disease is that when you don't sleep much, it's easy to run out of breath. And sometimes simply getting a little overly excited can make you run out of breath. Okay, we're back. So if I'm here, right? So it sounds like I'm making a lot of these big changes. Well, anybody who does metal vocals will hear that and know what's going on. But to a lot of people who don't do metal vocals or they're new to metal vocals, they hear that and they might think I'm doing something crazy different. Not really. I'm here. That's it. That's everything that's happening. Right? So something to think about. Very, very cool. Let's keep going. Okay, let's go ahead and pause it there. Also, I'm not sure why. We'll try to clean it up, but it seems like YouTube is really compressing and just crushing the audio quality here. So we'll see if we can, maybe if they have this song for sale, maybe we'll buy it and splice it in, because it's sounding a little bit squashed through YouTube. So hopefully that doesn't come through in the final video. So now we've got like sort of like a hardcore son of like metal voice, and then we got those pig squeals, right? Let's start with that like hardcore metal voice, because it's going to be easier to talk about, right? This is a really good example of how you can create distortion. You can create strategic places of that distortion existing without tensing up the vocal folds, right? So it sounds really funny to do, but like if I was trying to go do something like that, I'd be like, hey, this is my tough voice. I've got a tough voice. Don't fight me because I'm a black belt and a 5th level wizard in a D&D campaign. Hiya, right? I don't know what I'm saying. But anyways, when I'm doing that right there, you can hear that there's no squeeze on my vocal folds. If there was squeeze on my vocal folds, it would sound like this. And I wouldn't want to do that for very long, right? Now, if I take that, this voice here, and I just add, I don't get too concerned with like, the finer details of like what kind of distortion this is. I just add a grunt. Hey, 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 boy, right there. I'm a big tough guy. Yeah. Right. You can get that pretty easily. Right. I will say that anytime we're doing, which that's clearly living in the false chord realm. I will say that anytime we have our vocal folds creating audible pitch while distortion is taking place, we should always be aware that there is a risk of vocal cord swelling, vocal cord. Man, I'll tell you, being this tired makes it hard to grab words from the old think meats. Irregular contact, right? Instead of doing this, they're kind of doing this. Okay. Those are big ways that you can get vocal strain, vocal pain, and over the years, vocal nodules, right? Now, that's not me saying don't do this. That's me saying like just don't think that because it's easy, it's less risk, right? Metal vocals, this is potentially a bit of an unpopular opinion, but metal vocals do carry some risk with them, right? Just like taking a karate class, just like playing football, just like driving down the freeway. I'm obviously at more risk driving down the freeway of getting hit by a car than I am sitting here at my desk, right? That doesn't mean we avoid driving down the freeway. It just means we are smart about it. We take driving classes. We learn how to drive. We learn how to pay attention to the road. Likewise, to avoid like vocal damage, we learn about vocal health. We learn about how to treat our voice in and out of performance. We learn about what techniques we're using. We learn about what our body feels like. So there's that. Okay, let's talk about the pig squeals. I'm just going to be forthright and say that my pig squeals are not phenomenal. And part of the reason is because, and sometimes people are surprised, as much as I cover like really heavy, brutal music here, I have never been in that kind of band. It's a metal band. We do a lot of screaming, but it's a lot more like black metal influenced, death metal influenced. And so it's just never, in my entire career, I've never really had much of a reason to pig squeal. My pig squeals are very old school. They're very like, they're very much like that. Now, conceptually, the way that they're working is the same, but like, listen, I'm not going to replicate that really high pitched piercing pig squeal. I just don't have that capability. I know how it's done, but I'm not going to try, right? But let's talk about how it works, right? I'm going to say this. Anybody who knows the channel knows that I don't really like when people get caught up in the false chord fry dichotomy. I think you should do what's easiest for your voice to start, and then you can, focus on other stuff later. But I will say that in my experience, and with many of the people that I have spoken to and been around at shows and everything, talked to behind the scenes, really high-pitched pig squeals like this are very often, I don't want to say most of the time because I haven't actually polled anybody, but very often fry or heavily fry based, right? It's going to be a little harder to get this. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's gonna be really hard to get this like really piercing pig squeal sound on a false chord, right? Now, with that being said, like what is the pig squeal sound? Like what's happening? Well, when we speak or when we sing, when we really make any vocal noise, our voice is a stack of frequencies, right? So if I go like this, what we hear is whatever note that is, right? I don't have perfect pitch, so I couldn't tell you. But we hear that and we're like, oh, that's a C3 or a, D sharp 4 or whatever we want it to be, right? In actuality, that stack of frequencies has a lot of different things going on in it, and you can isolate some of those frequencies to bring them forward in like the mix of your voice, right? Now, again, I'm not very good at vocal harmonics. I can sort of stumble my way through them, but you can kind of hear what I mean if I do this with my clean voice, right? So might take a second, because again, my vocal harmonics aren't like A+, but if I'm here, hopefully, and maybe I'll play around with an EQ to brighten it up, but hopefully you could hear that there was sort of like a high whistly sound sort of sitting on top of my voice. Yeah, you can kind of hear it there. Essentially, I don't know off the top of my head, but that frequency, that line of frequency is basically being like, you can think of it as like pushed forward in like the mix of my voice, right? And we can do that with our metal vocals as well. So if I'm here, right, everything's sort of balanced. There's obviously going to be a large emphasis on the low end frequencies, right? But if I go and I curl my tongue, and it's like I do a guttural, but I try to say like an E or an like you can hear that sort of like chimey, pingy, bright harmonic coming through the top. So that's essentially, I have another video, I don't know where it is, where I actually like opened up like a spectrogram and kind of showed you the different frequencies and things like that. Maybe I'll do that again sometime. But if you're wanting to figure out pig squeals, start with your clean voice and start just playing with vocal harmonics, right? Find that whistly space and then try to translate that into whatever type of scream you're doing. Something to think about. He does it very, very well. Very consistent, very clean. You can tell that he's done, well, if you've listened to Vulvodynia, but you can tell he's done a lot of these and he can just snap into them. Boom, snap into place. And that right there is a lot of muscle memory and repetition. So anyways, I'm rambling. Let's keep going. I'm pretty sure I just heard a right, which like, listen, there's more snorting in metal now than there once was, at least as far as I know. If you know, you know, right? Which I think is cool, actually. Like, I kind of like, I think you could probably make any sound cool in metal if you just did it right. But what I wanted to talk about was those sort of, I wish, this is just more of an opinion than like a fact or whatever, but he just did some really cool, like slammy, like clicky vocals, very like early, like Travis Ryan. And they were, I wish they were a little bit more forward in the mix. I wish they were a little bit, because they sounded cool. Right. But let's talk about airflow, right? Airflow oftentimes, like, I think when we think about our breath as metal vocalists, but also as singers, is metal singing? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. It's cool and I like it, and that's about all I need to know. But I think oftentimes we think about our breath support as like our breath support and our breath and our airflow as a thing to be like figured out and forgotten. You know what I mean? We want our breath support to become second nature, and like that's true. That's true. You do want to be able to just with the right amount of pressure and flow without having to think about it. However, you can purposefully think about your airflow. And when you do, it really opens a lot of doors. So for example, that sound he was making there, again, it wasn't quite as far forward, so I can't, I didn't hear it perfectly, but if I was to replicate it, I would just take my normal low, right? And I would slow down the airflow. I would pull back on the air, so it turned into more of a clicky sound. I would go more like that. It's quieter, right? But we have microphones, we have levels, we have compressors, we have all sorts of stuff there. It also sounded like he was saying like a meat sort of sound, like sort of a snarled meat. I think when a lot of people say like metal vocals sound like burping or like Cookie Monster, this is the sound that they're talking about. And here's the thing, they aren't wrong. It just sounds cool to us. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But if you want to kind of, if you are a metal vocalist and you feel like you wish you could do more with your vocals, but you've sort of found your voice and you're sitting in it and you don't really know where to take it, rather than thinking about, okay, well, do whatever you want, but rather than thinking the only way to get more to your voice is by learning new techniques, maybe think about playing around with airflow, right? Because there's a lot of stuff you can do with airflow. Like let's take a high vocal, for example, just for fun. We're just riffing today, right? We're just having a good time. So if I'm here, this is a very like high velocity airflow high scream. What if I slow it down? Now I can do some sort of like narrative speaking voices. I actually like gain a little bit of freedom in my articulation. Right? So by lowering airflow, we can unlock certain spaces in our voice that maybe we didn't know that we had before. It's a lot of fun. Let's keep going. All right, there's a lot going on. Also, am I an idiot and just now noticed 3 minutes and 27 seconds into this music video that they have two vocalists? Y'all, I swear, my attention to detail has plummeted since this little kid was born. Do they normally have two vocalists, or is? Let me know in the comments below. But if that's the case, you both sound great. Okay. Good golly, Miss Molly. The truth of the matter is, normally before these videos, either me or my business partner, if we're not too familiar with the band, we do like a little bit of research so I don't sound too stupid in a video. But he is very busy with his life and I am very busy with mine, and we just didn't have time for it this time around. And that shows you what happens. Anyways, the two vocalist dichotomy is really cool. I think Filter did it very well. They're not the only despised icon. Did it very well. Another very pig squealy band. Anyway, my bad. Let's keep going, actually, because we're at 30 minutes and that's kind of long for a reaction. So, I mean, most of mine are, but let's finish out the song and then we'll do some closing thoughts. Of course. You can't have a song called Monkey Noises without monkey noises. Okay, so I think I only really want to talk about one more thing, and it's the high vocals. High vocals were lovely. I thought they sounded really, really good. One thing that a lot of people will run into with their high vocals is difficulty in tension. Right, they'll squeeze their throat, or they'll squeeze too much in the back of the mouth. Right, that really closes off the high scream. Along with that, what they'll do is they'll try to take a very chest voicey scream, and they'll try to just do that as a high, and you're gonna hear it doesn't really work. So here, right, to hear how it's getting choked off. A lot of what's going to happen with our high screams is we're going to relax into them. And that seems very counterintuitive, but that's how we sing high notes as well, right? We relax into the high note. So to give you kind of an example of like what this, because it's one thing to say that, and then you're like, okay, Mark, but what do I do? Well, I'll give you one tip, right? I want you to think about eating something delicious. This is something I've been doing with my students more so in the past like month, I would say. But for me, I don't know. Sushi's really good. So I'm eating sushi, and I'm going to say, right? Easy. I feel buzz on the front of my face. Now, I'm going to imagine that I'm trying to convince like a little kid, this is going to be my future, to eat some like baby food, right? So I'm not going to eat the baby food. Yeah, I've tried baby food before. It's disgusting. But like I try to eat the baby food, and I'm going to do it maybe a little higher pitch, a little more animated. Now I'm not tensing here. The shape of my vocal tract is allowing that sound to resonate more up in the front. Now I'm going to open my mouth. Hey, and I've reached a place, right? This doesn't work for everybody, by the way. If you're still tensing, there are a lot of other exercises. Don't worry about it. But I've reached a place, right, where I can, I can move through my voice. I can get up to a higher space without any tension. So if I do that with like, for example, like a false chord sound, you are going to reach a point if you're transitioning from, this is kind of one of the things that you don't really deal with as much in a fry vocal as you do with a false chord vocal. But if you go like the more false chord route, you are going to reach a point where it feels like you're hitting a vocal break, because you kind of are, right? And it's going to shift. The distortion is going to feel like it's more so in the back of the mouth than it is in the throat, or I should say the top of the throat. Right? That's a tricky thing to mitigate, but if you're just wanting to understand the movement, you can do like this, right? You can do that. There are other things you can do as well, but the highs here sound great. So that's all I know. Anyway, that was Xavleg Malfacitimua Dutroab Guape Pofks. And it was a good song. So good on you guys. Well done. With that being said, I think it's time for me to take a nap and then get caught up on my student emails. Beyond that, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for your time and your attention. Excellent vote from our patrons. If you want to vote on songs, nominate on songs for me to react to, check us out, patreon.com, Carterbox Academy, join the Discord server. It's a hoot. And that's all I have to say. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.